Alright guys, let's move into the Five of Cups. Let's move into the traditional archetypes first. So in this card, you'll see a man and he's looking down in like sadness and regret. And there are 3 cups by his feet that are knocked over and then 2 cups that are upright and they are behind him. Okay, he's also looking out over the river, and as you can see in the background there is a bridge and then there is a castle, right? So there is a way out of where he is. He can easily go over the bridge and go to the castle. So let's move into the feelings of this card, okay? So if I am to become this figure, and I am to notice what I notice. This card, by the way, feels a lot more like grieving to me because the sort of like shawl overcoat thing he's wearing is black, and then the cards have blood at the bottom. Right, whereas in this one they have water, and let's see, in this one there doesn't, you can't really see what came out of the cups. It could have been water and the water just went into the grass. But irregardless of all that, this one feels a lot more like loss, like someone died, right? Like that's what it makes me think of with the black, kind of like the Grim Reaper, and then the blood coming out of the cups. But it's definitely an emotional loss of some kind, even if someone hasn't just passed, right? So it's an ending of a relationship, or something just really difficult has happened. And this person feels emotionally just like they're wrung out, right? Like, you know when you take a rag and you just like wring it out? You guys, hold on one second. I need to fix my light. There we go. Somehow my light got swung around. So this person is just, they've had some sort of trauma or some sort of massive emotional difficulty, and they are just so sad and they're in grief and they're just like, ugh, right? So the other thing that I feel as I move into this card is, you know, being overly focused on the bad thing that's happened, right? So this person is not moving on. They're not processing their grief, right? They're not getting through it. They're focused on the cups that are turned over. They're repeating the story over and over in their mind. They're allowing it to bring their energy down. You know, when they go to work, they're a mess. When they go see their friends, they're a mess. When they're at home, they're a mess, right? Like they're taking their grief and sadness everywhere with them. And they're not allowing it to release, they're not allowing it to process, and they're not allowing it to flow. And part of the reason, and part of the way that they're doing that is they're very focused on what has gone wrong and what the sort of tragedy was, right? Because if we look at this card, there are 2 cups behind him that are still upright, right? So there are things that, I don't know if good things is the thing to say, but there are positive things about the situation, but they're not seeing it. They're focused on the cups that are overturned, not on the cups that are upright, right? And, you know, they could also emotionally move on from this situation if they just focused more on the castle. So the other thing I feel about this card is, like, to get somebody out of this sort of like emotional doldrums is they would be better off focusing on a goal instead of focusing on the story, which is the knocked over cups, and instead of focusing on the tragedy that's just occurred, they'd be much better off focusing on the future, focusing on the positive, and focusing on the castle in the background of this card. So they can get to the castle, right? There is a nice bridge right there that they can, you know, frolic over and go get to the castle. And if they would just stop paying so much attention to the knocked over cups, they might notice the castle and might start walking in that direction, okay? That is the main energy that I feel from this card. And I do find it kind of sad, like, this card, it doesn't have the castle and the bridge archetype. And I feel like those symbols are really important for this card. And, I mean, the Greer has a castle, there's no bridge. But I really like those symbols. I feel they're really good. Okay, so this is the Thelema Tarot. And then the 5 of Wands is, it's very hard for me to see this, but there are some mermaids and dolphins in there. 2 of the cups are upright, 3 are knocked over. The 5 of Raphael. This card says at the bottom, everything happens for a reason. Release regret and embrace the opportunities for happiness. Search for the silver lining, right? So this lady looks like she is depressed, and the Archangel is comforting her, right? Bringing her some sort of solace. and telling her that it's going to be okay. And then the Five of Summer. This is a very beautiful card. I don't, it doesn't have any of the symbolism going on like in this card. So this is one of those things where you can either read the words on the card or you really got to know the archetype of this deck in order to remember what the Five of Cups means. But the bottom of this card says, trust there is a reason for everything that happens. Remove yourself from the negative emotions of others, focusing on that which frightens or worries you. Right, so the words at the bottom of the card are spot on. Even though I love the image, I don't see how the image has anything to do with the words on the card. But I do love this deck very, very much. Don't get me wrong. I particularly like the imaging on this particular card and how you can just get so much emotional depth from just moving into the card and noticing the figure and the symbolism that is on the card. And I do feel that is lost in some other decks when they take out the bridge and the castle, right? Alright guys, for the Five of Cups reversed, when the card is upright, he's focused on the three cups that are knocked over, right? He's focused on the tragedy. In the card reversed, he's focused on the two cups that are upright instead, right? So he's focusing on the good that's come out of the situation. He's focusing on what he has learned from the situation and what he can take with him forward that is going to help him grow and be stronger, right? So this is, you know, being pessimistic, and then this is being optimistic and focusing on the good in the situation, focusing on how it's helped you and how it's made you stronger, and focusing really on your strength instead of focusing on things that are, you know, depleting and draining you, and retelling the story a million times in your head of the thing that just happened and how it's depressing and you'll never get over it and you'll always be here and oh my goodness, how am I going to get out of this, right? Whereas this is, okay, it's happened, I got it, you know, what I choose to take from this situation is this strength and this strength and this strength, and you know what, I'm going to grab my two cups and I'm going to trot my butt over to that castle, right? I'm going to take what I've learned and I'm going to move on. I'm going to focus on the positives in my life, and I'm going to focus on what I can control in my life, and I am going to take steps in a positive direction. So where this figure is stopped and standing still, this figure is walking away from the tragedy. They're no longer telling the sad story. They're no longer repeating the trauma to all of their friends. They're no longer allowing the story or the issue that has just happened to them to completely clobber them emotionally and render them unable to move forward. They've now made the decision, okay, it was terrible, but I'm stronger for it. I'm taking these lessons. I'm taking what I've learned. I'm taking, you know, and I'm acknowledging the emotional growth that I've had and the strength that I have now cultivated in myself as a result of going through this difficult period or time. And now it's time to move on. So I'm grabbing my cups, which really means like I'm grabbing my lessons. I'm grabbing the good from the situation, right? I'm picking up my two upright cups. And I am moving towards the castle. I'm going in the right direction. I'm moving towards what feels good. I'm moving towards going back into the community, right? Because this guy's all alone, and the castle pretty much represents your community of friends, your family. So while this person is emotionally distancing himself, the reverse energy of this card is you're going back and connecting with others again. You're going back to the castle. You're going to call your friends. You're going to have a fun night out. You know, you're going to call your mother, your brother, your friend. You know, you're going to talk on the phone for a while. And you're pretty much going to return to life. Or you're going to like start going back to work now because it's over. And you've chosen to move on. You've chosen to go back to the castle. You've chosen the reconnection. And you've chosen to focus on your strengths. So you've overcome the difficult time, you're moving on, you're allowing things to be, you've let go of the past, you're focused on the future, and you're very much, you're taking the good things with you and leaving the difficult, bad things in the past, and you're choosing what is going to empower you and choosing what is emotionally healthy and feels good for you and moving in a positive direction. So maybe you've joined a support group, maybe you've reached out for help, maybe you've decided to make some positive, happy changes in your life, maybe picking up the two cups and acknowledging you know, your strengths and your fortitude and what you have learned. Maybe that is, you know, now going to enable you to build something new when you get to the castle, right? Maybe you can bring a new depth to your relationships because you're more open and you're more healed. And maybe, you know, because you have overcome this difficult time, you know, maybe more of your creativity is going to flow, all right? So this is such a good card, rich in archetypes, and I really, really love it. And I hope that this was super helpful for you guys. Let's go into the Six of Cups.